Survive a night in my bed, Omega, Darius said, his voice heavy as iron, and I'll set you free. The clearing fell silent. Torches sputtered, elders froze, and the line of kneeling Omegas trembled. All except one. Elara did not kneel. Her wrists were raw from ropes, but her silver eyes burned. When the Alpha King's gaze found her, it pinned her as surely as a wolf pins prey. You bargained freedom for flesh, she said, voice cutting through the night. Is that law in your kingdom, or only appetite? Gasps rippled. No one dared speak to him that way. Darius moved through the circle, his steps unhurried, inevitable. He passed girls who bent lower at his shadow, betas who forgot to breathe, elders who bowed their heads. He stopped in front of her, massive and scarred, golden eyes gleaming like molten metal. Your name, he said. Elara. He tilted her chin with 2 fingers. My bargains are stricter than desire. If you survive the night untouched, you walk free. If I break my word, you take what you will, gold, guards, even my crown. The pack inhaled sharply. He was wagering more than law, his throne itself. And if I refuse, she asked. Then another will claim you, he said simply. The threat was worse than his bed. Elara's wolf stirred, restless under her skin. Better to face the king than be handed to lesser cruelty. I accept, she said, but I keep a knife. Warriors bristled. Elders hissed. But Darius's lips curved faintly. Keep 3, he answered. 1 for tradition, 1 for fear, 1 for truth. A murmur spread. The Alpha King's bargains were legend, but this was something new. He extended his hand. Elara didn't take it. For a heartbeat, the circle held its breath. Then Darius withdrew, unbothered, and opened a path for her instead. Walk, he commanded. She did. Past bowed heads and silent warriors, into the great hall. The chamber swallowed her. Candles lined stone walls, their light pooling around the vast iron-framed bed draped in black linen. Beyond an open balcony, the blood moon glowed, casting silver fire across the floor. Darius dismissed the guards with a glance. The doors closed, but did not lock. You may flee if you wish, he said. The balcony leads to the courtyard. The stairs to the stables. Run fast, my captain enjoys the chase. You sound certain I'll stay, Elara said. I never lose bargains, he replied, pouring water into 2 cups. He placed one near her, untouched. She drew a knife from her boot and laid it across the bedpost, blade toward him. Another she hid in the seam of the mattress. The third she tucked at her nape. If you want me afraid, she said, you'll be disappointed. I've counted too many doors in the dark to be broken by one more. Doors are honest, Darius said, stepping closer. People are not. He stopped just short of touching her. The heat of him pressed against her without contact, and her wolf lifted its head. Not in submission, recognition. Why me? She asked. Because you didn't kneel, he said. Because the bond hums when you breathe. Because I will not build a kingdom on women who fold just because I ask. Elara's pulse raced. She wanted to laugh, but the truth in his words unsettled her more than any threat. He gestured to the bed. My last rules. I won't cross this threshold without your assent. Tell me to leave, I'll go. Tell me to stay, I will. Say nothing, and I'll sit until dawn and let the night do its work. The night? On you, he said simply. Elara sat at the edge of the bed, boots still on, knife close to hand. He took the chair across from her, silent, immovable, a predator content to wait. Time thickened. Candles burned low. The moon inched across the balcony. Once, he set the water closer to her, once, she drank without looking at him. When dawn thinned the red sky to ash, Elara stood. Well, he asked. You kept your word, she said. And you? I stayed. He rose, stopping just shy of the bed's edge. At dawn, the elders will hear it from your lips. And freedom? She asked, hand pressed to the door. Ask for it, Darius said. If you want it, I'll give it. If you don't, his eyes glowed, unreadable. Then the night has already claimed you. The iron handle chilled her palm. The door waited like a cliff. Her heart thundered with the question she couldn't silence. What is freedom worth if the one thing you're running from is the only one who truly sees you? She didn't open the door. Not yet. The elders said the Alpha King's chambers were cursed. No woman had walked out unchanged. Some limped. Some whispered. Some never spoke again. Alara had thought curses were for children. But when the great doors shut behind her and silence pressed in like a weight, she understood. The room was vast, too vast for a single man. Black stone walls swallowed light. A fire glowed and a pit sunk into the floor, sending shadows crawling up carved pillars. At its center stood the bed, iron-framed, tall as a dais, draped in black sheets that shimmered faintly in the torchlight. It wasn't a bed. It was a throne. And he wanted her to survive it. Darius crossed the chamber without hurry. His cloak slid from his shoulders, a black pelt hitting the stone with a sound like a body falling. He didn't look at her as he stripped off leather bracers, rings, the belt at his hip. He moved like a man undressing for battle, not pleasure. Alara stayed near the doors, back against the cold wood, knives hidden on her body and one still biting into her palm. You keep your distance, he said at last, voice steady, low. You built this room for fear, she answered. I'd be a fool not to respect it. Darius turned. The firelight caught his scars, each one a story carved into flesh. His eyes glowed gold, sharp as coins under torchlight. This room, he said, was built for truth. Fear is only the door. He came closer, and the fire seemed to follow him. Alara gripped the knife harder. You promised no chains. No forced touch. And I keep my word. He stopped an arm's length away, heat radiating off him in waves. The danger is not in me breaking it, Omega. The danger is in you wanting me not to. Her stomach tightened. She hated the way her body betrayed her, the quickening of her breath, the heat that bloomed under her skin. Do all your bargains sound like riddles? She demanded. No, he said softly. Only the ones that matter. He stepped past her instead of into her, pacing toward the balcony. The blood moon loomed beyond, red and merciless, painting his figure in warlike light. He placed both hands on the railing, his broad back tense as stone. You think me a monster, he said without looking at her. You don't deny it. Monsters deny. Kings name themselves. He turned then, gaze heavy, voice darker. Survive me tonight, Alara. Survive the truth of me. At dawn, if you still despise me, I'll let you go. The words rattled her more than threats. What if I survive, she whispered, but I don't despise you. Silence stretched, dangerous. Then he smiled, a slow, cruel curve. Then you'll understand the curse of this chamber. Her wolf stirred again, restless. She pressed her back harder against the door as if it could shield her from the weight of him. Darius left the balcony and crossed the chamber. He moved like shadow itself, deliberate, unhurried, until he stood close enough for her to see the flecks of molten fire in his irises. You have two choices tonight, he said. Run and keep your body. Stay and risk your soul. Her knife trembled in her hand. He saw it, but made no move to take it. Instead, he leaned down, his voice brushing her ear like smoke. Which will you guard harder, little wolf? He whispered. Your skin, or your heart? Alara's throat locked. The chamber around them seemed smaller, the bed looming like a waiting predator. She should run. She should fling the doors open, sprint through the courtyard, and pray dawn found her beyond his reach. But she didn't move. Not yet. The fire sank lower. Shadows climbed higher. The chamber no longer looked like stone and iron, it looked like a den, alive, watching. Alara hadn't moved from the doors. Her knife sat warm in her palm, her pulse louder than the silence. Darius moved with a patience that made her skin prickle. He didn't strike. He didn't touch. He circled. Like a wolf deciding which angle would draw the first drop of blood. You stand as if the doors will save you, he murmured, his steps echoing. But you know they won't. A lock is nothing compared to a bond. There is no bond, Alara said. Her voice was steady, though her wolf stirred restlessly beneath her ribs. You mistake defiance for fate. He smiled at that. Not kind. Not cruel. Predatory. Defiance is why I chose you. He stalked closer, his boots whispering over the stones. Alara raised her knife higher, though she knew it wouldn't matter. The Alpha King was taller, broader, forged in battles where knives broke against bone. Still, she would not lower it. Strike, he said softly, tilting his chin toward her blade. Cut me, if you mean to. Her hand trembled. She didn't. A low chuckle rumbled in his chest. Exactly. He stepped past her in a blur, faster than her eyes could follow. When she spun, he was behind her, his breath hot against her ear. Your body already knows who rules this night. She lunged away, heart hammering, knife raised again. He didn't stop her. He wanted her to run. He wanted her to fight. And she did. Alara darted across the chamber, weaving between shadows, past the fire pit and the carved pillars. The air burned with the scent of pine and smoke, and behind her, his footsteps were steady, unhurried. A hunter. Run faster, he called. His voice slid along the stone walls. Make me earn you. She darted toward the balcony, toward the silvered glow of the blood moon. If she leapt, she could reach the garden wall below. Perhaps even vanish into the woods. But she knew he'd catch her before her feet touched earth. She stopped at the threshold, chest heaving, the night air cold against sweat on her skin. Behind her, silence. Then, movement. Darius's hand struck the pillar beside her head, claws grazing the stone. The sound hissed like a warning. His body caged hers against the balcony rail, heat and muscle pressing without touching. You won't leave, he said, voice low enough to vibrate through her spine. You sound very sure of yourself, she spat, though her voice cracked. I am. His breath brushed her throat. Because I smell your fear. And under it, your hunger. Alara's lips parted in a sharp inhale. She hated him for the words, hated herself for the way her wolf twitched at their truth. You want to break me, she whispered. No, his mouth hovered close, almost grazing hers. I want you to choose. That's the only way this bargain matters. Her pulse thundered. She could plunge the knife into his chest now. End it. Win her freedom in blood. Instead, her hand dropped slightly. Darius caught her wrist, grip iron, unshakable. He didn't take the knife. He only held her hand there, suspended, a reminder that her choice had weight. You'll learn quickly, Alara, he murmured. I don't chase prey to tear it apart. I chase to make it admit the truth it hides. What truth? She gasped. That you've already surrendered in ways you don't yet understand. The knife clattered from her fingers, striking the stone floor. His golden eyes gleamed, triumphant, but he didn't smile. He leaned in close enough that his lips brushed her ear. The hunt is over, he growled. The night has only begun. Alara's knees trembled, her wolf howling inside her chest. She hated him. She wanted him. She wanted to escape. She wanted to stay. And Darius, the Alpha King, smelled every crack in her resistance like blood on the wind. The knife lay between them like a fallen verdict, its blade catching the last red gleam of the moon. Alara's breath came hard, sharp, every inhale scraping against her ribs. Darius hadn't moved away. He stayed close enough that the heat from his body pressed into her, making the cold night air useless. You dropped your weapon, he said, voice steady, almost amused. You disarmed me, she snapped, though her wrist still tingled where his grip had pinned her. I didn't take it. His golden eyes glowed. You let it go. The words stung because they were true. She clenched her fists, refusing to glance at the knife on the floor. You think survival means surrender, she said, forcing her voice steady. No, he leaned closer, until his shadow swallowed her whole. Survival means honesty. And the most dangerous honesty is admitting what you want. Alara's throat tightened. And what if I say I want freedom? Then walk through the door, he said without hesitation. No one will stop you. Her pulse stuttered. He sounded so sure, as if the option were real. Yet her feet didn't move. Darius's lips curved faintly, sensing the war inside her. He braced one hand on the balcony rail beside her head, caging her without touch. His other hand lifted slowly, deliberately, until the back of his fingers grazed her cheek. Alara flinched, not away, but inward, as if her own body had betrayed her. You're trembling, he murmured. I'm not afraid. Good. His thumb traced the line of her jaw, light as breath. Fear would bore me. But this, his voice lowered, rough velvet. This fire you hide under defiance, this is what keeps me awake at night. She swallowed hard, forcing herself not to lean into his hand. You don't know me. Then let me. His tone wasn't pleading. It was command dressed as invitation. Alara's heart thundered. She turned her head sharply, stepping past him, grabbing the knife from the floor. Her hand shook as she gripped it again, desperate for control. Darius didn't stop her. He watched, patient, a predator indulging prey's illusion of power. Keep the blade, he said softly. Use it, if you must. But admit this before dawn, your blade doesn't guard you from me. It guards you from yourself. She spun on him, eyes blazing. You think I want you? I don't think, he said, his voice sinking lower, darker. I smell it. The words shattered her breath. Wolves didn't lie about scent. Her body betrayed her no matter how hard she fought. You're wrong, she whispered. Prove it. He stepped back, spreading his arms slightly, a king baring his chest to judgment. The firelight gilded his scars, the old wounds across muscle and bone. Cut me, Alara. If your desire is hatred, then strike. If it's freedom, then leave. If it's neither. His eyes burned. Then stay. Her grip faltered. The knife trembled. She could plunge it into him. She could end this deadly bargain before it swallowed her whole. But she didn't. With a shuddering breath, Alara dropped the knife again. It rang against the stone, louder this time, final. Darius's chest rose and fell once, sharply, as though he'd been waiting for that sound. He closed the space between them in 2 strides, looming over her, yet still he didn't touch. Say it, he whispered. Say you don't want me. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Her wolf surged, wild, restless, clawing inside her chest. She turned her face away, ashamed. I don't owe you words. Darius's growl was low, satisfied. No, you don't. But your silence speaks louder than screams. Alara trembled. Her body betrayed her, heat coiling low in her belly, breath shallow and quick. She hated it. She hated him. And yet. He leaned down, his mouth a whisper from her ear. Every part of you fights. But tell me, little wolf, what are you fighting? Me? Or yourself? Her knees weakened. She staggered back until the balcony rail pressed cold against her spine. His presence followed, unstoppable, until the night itself seemed to trap her. Darius, her voice cracked on his name, her first time speaking it. His eyes flared, molten gold, hungry. Say it again. She bit her lip, refusing. He didn't press further. Instead, he pulled away, slowly, deliberately, leaving the heat of his body like an ache in the air. He crossed the chamber to the bed and sat at its edge, watching her with wolf-patient eyes. You think temptation is touch, he said. But it's distance. Knowing you can come to me, or not. He leaned back, broad shoulders against the carved iron frame, utterly at ease, a king enthroned. The night is yours, Alara. Choose how to spend it. She stood frozen by the balcony, chest heaving, fists clenched. Every part of her screamed to run. To escape before dawn chained her fate. But her legs wouldn't move. And his gaze, steady and golden, pulled at her like a tether she hadn't asked for. The blood moon dipped lower. The fire crackled. The night stretched long and merciless between them. And Alara realized the true danger of the bargain, not surviving his touch. Surviving her own desire. The chamber felt smaller with every heartbeat. Shadows thickened around the fire pit, the iron bed loomed larger, and the silence between them turned suffocating. Alara stood near the balcony, her back pressed to the cold stone rail, the knife gone, her pulse uneven. Darius, her wolf shivered, restless under her skin. She clenched her fists until her nails dug crescents into her palms. You want me afraid, she whispered. But I'm not. He rose. Slowly. Deliberately. Each step toward her echoed like a drumbeat. By the time he reached her, the firelight painted every scar on his chest in molten gold. You should be, he said, close enough that his breath brushed her lips. Alara shoved at him. Hard. To her shock, he moved back a step, letting her hands press against muscle that felt carved from stone. Her defiance pleased him. He chuckled low, wolfish. That's it. Fight me. I want to see what breaks first, your pride or your body. She shoved again. I will never beg you. His grin vanished. In a blur, he caught her wrists and slammed them above her head against the stone rail. The impact rattled her bones, but his grip held her without crushing. Never is a long time, little wolf. His voice rumbled, low and guttural. And I have all night. Her chest heaved. You promised, no chains, no force. I promised no chains, he growled. This is no chain. This is me. He pressed closer, his body caging hers, his scent thick in the air, pine, smoke, and something darker that made her knees tremble. His lips hovered at her ear, not kissing, only teasing, his breath hot enough to burn. You feel it, he whispered. Your wolf knows who I am. Why do you keep lying to yourself? Alara turned her head sharply, refusing to meet his eyes. Because if I admit it, I lose. He released one wrist. Just one. His free hand trailed down her arm, slow, deliberate, until his fingers closed around her hip. His grip was bruising, possessive, but steady. You already lost the moment you stayed, he murmured. Her wolf held inside her, torn between fury and need. She tried to twist away, but his grip tightened, pulling her flush against him. Heat flared where their bodies met, so strong it stole her breath. Darius. His name broke from her lips again before she could stop it. He stilled. His eyes flared brighter, molten, triumphant. Say it again. She bit her lip hard enough to taste blood, refusing. His mouth curved into a dark smile. Then I'll make you. His lips crashed onto hers before she could speak. The kiss was brutal, claiming, nothing soft about it. His tongue forced its way past her lips, devouring her gasp, drowning her protest in heat. She whimpered, muffled against him, and hated herself for the way her body arched toward him in betrayal. When he pulled back, his voice was a growl against her swollen lips. You can hate me tomorrow. Tonight, you'll burn. Her wrist strained against his grip, her chest rising and falling in ragged breaths. You want to break me. No, his teeth grazed her jaw, sharp enough to sting. I want to see you break yourself. He spun her in one swift motion, pressing her chest against the balcony rail, her arms still pinned above her head. His body pressed into her back, heat radiating through every inch. Fight me, he snarled into her ear. Every struggle makes me want you more. Alara kicked back, wild, but he absorbed it with a grunt, his laughter dark and hungry. Her wolf clawed inside her chest, not with fear, but with desire. Her voice cracked. You can't just take me whenever you... His mouth silenced her again, teeth catching her lower lip, dragging until she gasped. His growl vibrated through her spine. I already did. Her pride screamed to resist. But her body shuddered under him, betraying every word. The night air was cold, but Darius was fire, pressing closer, holding her wrists so tightly she couldn't move, couldn't think, couldn't breathe. His dominance was unbearable, suffocating, intoxicating. Say it, he demanded, his voice rough silk. Say I'm too much. No, she hissed, tears stinging her eyes from the effort of defiance. His grip tightened. His breath was ragged, golden eyes wild. Then I'll keep going until you scream it. Her body arched helplessly, her wolf howling with need, her pride crumbling inch by inch under his relentless pressure. And when her voice finally broke, raw and desperate, the word tore free like a confession carved from her soul. You're too much. Darius growled low, victorious, his forehead pressing against the back of her neck. Exactly. And still, you survived me. Alara's chest heaved. Her wrists ached. Her body trembled from the force of him. And for the first time, she feared not that she'd lose this bargain, but that she'd want to. Alara's chest rose and fell in ragged bursts, wrists sore from his grip, lips swollen from his brutal kiss. Her hair clung to her damp skin, silver strands plastered to her face by the heat of his breath. Every nerve still hummed from the relentless pressure of his dominance. Darius hadn't let her go, not entirely. His body caged hers against the balcony rail, golden eyes blazing, his wolf pacing just beneath the surface. The night air was cold, but it couldn't touch her, she was scorched, inside and out. You broke, he murmured, voice deep as gravel. And yet, you're still standing. Her throat worked, but no words came. She should hate him. She should be clawing at his chest, spitting in his face. Instead, her wolf stirred, restless, keening. It wanted more. I survived, she forced out, defiant even as her knees trembled. Survival is not the same as freedom. His lips brushed her ear, his breath scorching. And freedom is not what you want tonight. Alara shook her head violently. Don't tell me what I want. But even as the words left her lips, a tremor ran down her spine. It wasn't his touch that caused it, it was deeper, primal, something pulling at the marrow of her bones. Darius stilled, head tilting, nostrils flaring as if he'd caught a scent too dangerous to ignore. His grip on her wrists loosened, though he didn't let her go completely. You feel it, he whispered, almost reverent now. Don't deny it, little wolf. The bond is stirring. Her stomach dropped. No. Not this. Anything but this. The fated mate pull was rare, cruel, binding two souls whether they willed it or not. Some called it a blessing. Alara knew it was a cage. You're wrong, she said, but her voice cracked. His hand slid from her wrists to her throat, not squeezing, just resting, thumb brushing the frantic flutter of her pulse. Your heart disagrees. Her wolf surged, pressing hard against her skin, clawing to be closer to him. She bit her lip until it bled, desperate to silence the truth. But blood betrayed her. Darius growled low, golden eyes narrowing. He lowered his mouth to her neck, fangs grazing the thin skin where her pulse pounded. Not biting. Not marking. Just testing. Alara gasped. The air snapped like lightning. A rush of heat surged through her veins, so strong her knees nearly buckled. Her wolf howled inside her chest, recognition ringing like a bell. No, she whispered. No, no, no. He pulled back just enough to look at her, his face carved in firelight and shadow. You feel it too. Alara shook her head, tears pricking her eyes. I won't be yours. I won't. His grip tightened at her throat, not choking, only anchoring her to the truth. It's not a choice. She shoved at him with everything she had left. For the first time, he staggered back, his chest heaving, pupils blown wide, claws slipping from his fingertips. The bond tugged between them like a chain. When she pulled away, it yanked at him too, dragging a snarl from his lips. "Run," he growled, voice half human, half wolf. "See how far you get." Her heart hammered, but she ran. Not toward the doors. Toward the shadows of the chamber, weaving between the fire pit and pillars, desperate to escape the magnetic pull clawing at her insides. Every step burned. The bond pulled harder, hotter, until her breath came ragged, her vision blurred. It wasn't just lust. It wasn't just fear. It was hunger that would never end, a craving carved into her very soul. Behind her, Darius didn't give chase. His voice followed instead, deep and dangerous, vibrating through the stone walls. "You can run until dawn, Alara. You can hide behind knives, walls, even your pride. But this bond will drag you back to me every time. Because I am yours, and you are mine." She stopped, trembling in the corner of the chamber, her back pressed to cold stone. She hated him for being right. She hated herself more for wanting him despite it. Darius finally moved, slow and deliberate, stalking her like prey that already knew the jaws would close. He stopped just short, his chest rising and falling in sharp, hungry bursts. His wolf hovered under his skin, snarling, impatient. Alara lifted her chin, even as tears slid down her cheeks. "If I admit it, if I let this bond take root, I lose myself." "No," he said, voice low, almost gentle. "You'll find yourself. In me." She shook her head violently. "You'll devour me." His lips curved into something sharp and aching. "Yes. And you'll devour me back. That is what it means to be bound." The air between them thickened, so charged it hurt to breathe. Her wolf held inside, begging her to close the space. Her pride screamed to resist. Darius stepped closer, close enough that the heat of him wrapped around her like fire. His hand rose, brushing away a tear she hadn't meant to shed. "Say it," he whispered. "Say you feel it." Her lips trembled. "I hate you." "Good." His eyes blazed, golden and wild. "Hate is passion. Hate means you burn. And burning is the beginning of truth." His mouth hovered above hers, not touching, waiting. The pull between them was unbearable, a cord stretched to breaking. Her wolf clawed inside, howling his name. Alara's resolve cracked. Not completely, not yet, but enough. Her hand lifted, trembling, and pressed against his chest. His heart thundered beneath her palm, fierce, unstoppable. And with that touch, the bond snapped fully awake. Heat surged through both of them, blinding, merciless. Darius groaned low, his head dropping against hers as the fire consumed them. Alara gasped, choking on the flood of need, every nerve sparking like lightning. She wanted to pull away. She couldn't. The bond wouldn't let her. Darius's voice was a growl, raw, guttural, torn from the wolf itself. "Now you understand. You were never meant to survive the night. You were meant to be mine." Her knees gave out. He caught her before she fell, arms iron around her trembling frame. His lips brushed her ear, his words dark silk. "And when dawn comes, Alara, you won't beg me for freedom. You'll beg me never to let you go." The bond still burned under Alara's skin, a brand she hadn't asked for, a chain she couldn't break. Her pulse hadn't steadied since the moment she touched him. Her body trembled in his arms, every nerve raw, every breath stolen by the Alpha King who held her. Darius hadn't moved. He cradled her as if she were both fragile and fire, his golden eyes never leaving her face. For the first time, there was no smirk on his lips, no mockery in his tone. Only hunger, steady and consuming. "You feel it now," he murmured. "You can't deny it." Alara bit her lip, desperate to resist the truth. But the pull inside her was too strong. Her wolf no longer clawed to escape. It clawed to stay. You said, her voice cracked. She swallowed hard, forcing the words past the lump in her throat. You said if I survived the night, I'd be free. Darius's gaze flickered, sharp and unreadable. Slowly, he set her back on her feet. She staggered, clutching the cold stone rail behind her. His silence was worse than a growl. Tell me I earned it, she whispered, her voice trembling but fierce. Tell me the bargain holds. He stepped back, shadow swallowing his scarred frame, and for a moment he looked less like a man and more like a wolf waiting to strike. You did survive, he said at last. But freedom? His lips curved into a slow, cruel smile. Freedom was never truly on the table. Her stomach dropped. You lied. I promised no chains. His voice was calm, too calm. And I kept that promise. You're not bound by steel, Alara. You're bound by something far stronger. By me. Her chest tightened. She shook her head, refusing. No. You tricked me. Tricked? He chuckled, low and dark. I gave you a choice. You stayed. You touched me. You let the bond awaken. That was your doing, not mine. Her wolf whimpered inside, torn between rage and yearning. Alara's fists clenched until her nails cut into her palms. You twisted the bargain. You made survival impossible without surrender. That's what survival is, he growled, stepping forward again, closing the space she had tried to put between them. Not clinging to pride. Not hiding behind knives. Survival is surrendering to what you already are. His hand lifted, fingers brushing her cheek with a gentleness that cut deeper than violence. And what you are, Alara, is mine. She slapped his hand away, her defiance sharp despite the tremor in her voice. You can't own me. His golden eyes flared. I don't own you. The bond does. You think you can break it? Run until your legs give out? Deny it until your throat bleeds? You'll still crave me. Because the moon itself carved us into one. Her breath hitched, fury spilling into her words. Then the moon is cruel. Darius's jaw tightened. For the first time, something unreadable passed through his gaze, pain, perhaps, or memory. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by wolfish hunger. Cruel? His voice dropped, velvet-edged with steel. No. The moon is merciful. It gave me you. Alara's throat locked. The heat in his words was too much, too dangerous. She turned away, gripping the balcony rail until her knuckles whitened. The night stretched before her, the blood moon dipping lower, silver edges bleeding into crimson. Let me go, she whispered. Please. The word please broke something in the air. Darius's growl was soft but jagged, dangerous in its restraint. You beg for freedom with your mouth, he said, circling her slowly, predator to prey. But your body begs for me. Which truth should I listen to? Her shoulders stiffened. She refused to turn and meet his eyes. You promised, she said again, her voice cracking. And I delivered. His hand slid over the rail beside hers, so close their fingers nearly touched. You survived the night. But freedom was never survival's reward. Survival's reward is me. She spun, fury sparking through her tears. You want me to thank you for caging me? No, his voice was dark velvet, the kind that wrapped around her throat like silk. I want you to stop pretending you're not already caged by your own heart. Her wolf howled at his words, clawing, restless, aching. Alara's pride crumbled under the weight of the bond, but her defiance burned hotter. I will never call myself yours, she hissed. Darius's smile returned, sharp and merciless. You already did. When you said my name with fire in your voice. Heat flushed through her. Shame. Fury. Desire. It all tangled until she couldn't tell one from the other. He leaned closer, his lips brushing her ear. At dawn, you thought you'd walk away. Instead, you'll wake in my bed. And when the court asks what happened here, your body will answer louder than words ever could. Her heart pounded. She hated him. She wanted him. And she feared most of all that he was right. The bond pulsed between them, stronger now, an invisible chain that no bargain could cut. And in the silence that followed, Alara understood the truth she had tried so hard to deny. She had not survived the night. She had been claimed by it. The first light of dawn bled into the chamber, pale and merciless. Golden rays spilled across stone walls blackened with soot, over the dying embers of the fire pit, over scattered shards of glass where goblets had shattered in the frenzy of the night. Smoke clung to the air, heavy with pine and musk and the undeniable scent of him. Alara pressed her back against the cold balcony rail, body trembling. Her lips were swollen, her wrists raw where his grip had pinned her, and her throat bore the faint bruises of his teeth. Her wolf paced restlessly beneath her skin, keening, no longer clawing to escape but clawing for him. She hated it. She hated herself. Across the chamber, Darius stood with the dawn at his back, a living shadow crowned in fire. His scars caught the light like molten lines etched by war. His golden eyes burned even brighter in the morning glow, unwavering, fixed only on her. "You survived," he said, voice a low growl, steady, as though declaring a verdict. Alara laughed, bitter and broken, though it came out more as a rasp. "Barely." "Barely," he repeated, taking a step toward her, "is enough." Her throat tightened. "Then keep your word. You promised me freedom." Darius stopped, the faintest smirk tugging at his mouth. "No chains," he corrected softly. "That was my promise. And look at you, little wolf, no shackles weigh you down. You're standing free." Her hands balled into fists, nails biting into her palms. "Free?" She spat the word. "I am caged in your shadow, chained by something I never asked for." "The bond is not a chain." His voice softened, dangerous in its calm. "It is truth. The moon carved it into our blood, into our bones." "I don't own you," he growled. "The bond does. You are mine because fate willed it, not because I chose it. And you," he pressed closer, his lips brushing her ear, "you are burning to admit it." Her chest heaved, her voice trembling. "I will never say it. Then I'll take it from your body instead." His mouth crashed onto hers, brutal and unyielding. The kiss seared like flame, teeth scraping, tongue forcing its way in until her cry was swallowed whole. She shoved at him, nails digging into his chest, but the bond surged, dragging her wolf to the surface. Her body betrayed her, arching toward him, moaning into his mouth even as her mind screamed no. He pulled back, breath harsh, lips red from hers. His golden gaze locked on her trembling defiance. "You're mine," he whispered. Not a threat. A truth. Her wolf held in her chest. Her pride shattered. The words slipped from her lips in a broken whisper, barely audible. "Yours." A triumphant growl rumbled through him. His teeth bared, sharp and gleaming. "Say it again." Tears streaked her cheeks as her voice cracked louder, rawer. "Yours. Always yours." Darius's growl deepened, vibrating through the air. He lowered his mouth to her neck, lips brushing the delicate pulse, fangs grazing lightly at first. Then he struck. His teeth sank deep into her flesh, not cruelly but deliberately, the mark of an alpha binding his mate. Fire exploded through her veins. Alara cried out, her voice ragged, the sound echoing into the dawn. Pain and ecstasy twined, searing through her blood. Her wolf roared inside, no longer resisting, only surrendering to the inevitable. When he pulled back, his lips were wet with her blood, his eyes blazing gold. He licked the crimson from his mouth with slow, deliberate hunger. "Now," he said, voice thick with triumph, "the bond is sealed. You are mine." Her body sagged against him, weak, trembling. Her throat ached from the bite, but deeper than pain, a strange warmth spread. An anchor tying her to him, soul to soul. She could feel him now, in her pulse, in her breath, in the frantic rhythm of her heart. Darius lifted her easily, carrying her to the bed. He laid her among the tangled sheets, his weight pressing her down, surrounding her. She no longer fought when his lips claimed hers again. She no longer resisted when his hands traced bruises and marks like signatures on her skin. The sun climbed higher, flooding the chamber with gold. Her voice was hoarse, her body sore, yet she whispered his name again and again until it was no longer defiance, but prayer. And when exhaustion finally pulled her under, she did not dream of knives or freedom. She dreamed only of fire and gold. When she stirred hours later, the world was quiet. Darius sat on the edge of the bed, watching her with the patience of a predator who had already claimed the kill. His golden eyes softened, just slightly, as he brushed damp hair from her forehead. "You survived me," he murmured. Her lips parted, dry, trembling. "Barely." He smiled, dark and devastating. "Barely is enough. Barely means you're still mine." Her wolf shivered at his words, curling content beneath her skin. She hated it. She wanted it. She was it. And as the sun crowned the horizon, Alara knew the truth she had fought so hard to deny. She had not survived the night. She had been claimed by it. Forever. The palace was silent. For the first time since Alara had stepped into the Alpha King's lair, there was no storm rattling the windows, no clash of claws or cries of wolves echoing through the halls. Only the hush of dawn, heavy and final. She lay tangled in silk sheets, her body aching, her throat raw, every inch of her skin marked in bruises and bites. Darius's scent clung to her, smoke and pine, threaded so deeply into her that it drowned out even her own. She had wanted freedom. She had bargained for it. And yet, as she opened her eyes to find him watching her from the throne by the fire, she realized freedom had never been real. It was his gaze that held her now, golden, unblinking, molten in its hunger. "You woke," he said simply. Her lips parted, cracked from his kisses. "How long?" "Long enough for the sun to crown," he murmured, his voice carrying the weight of inevitability. "Long enough for the bond to root itself into you." She tried to sit up, but her body trembled, too weak. The mark on her neck still throbbed, heat radiating through her blood. It wasn't just a wound. It was a tether. She could feel him inside her, not just his touch, but his presence, steady, powerful, unyielding. Her wolf stirred at it, restless, then settled like a creature curling at its master's feet. Alara swallowed hard, refusing to meet his gaze. "So this is it. The end of me." No, he rose from the throne, every scar and muscle gilded by the firelight. He moved like a storm contained, silent but heavy with threat. Not the end. The beginning. She shivered as he sat on the edge of the bed, his hand brushing her cheek. She flinched, but his touch lingered, soft in a way that unsettled her more than his violence ever had. "You think possession means death," he whispered. "But possession means rebirth. The Alara who thought she was free is gone. The Alara who belongs to me has just begun." Tears welled in her eyes, not from weakness but from fury. "You destroyed me." He tilted his head, golden eyes narrowing. "I remade you." His fingers traced the fresh bite at her throat, pressing lightly until she gasped. "Every scar, every bruise, every cry last night carved away the lie that you were ever alone. Now the world will know you're mine. And so will you." Her wolf held an agreement, clawing at her chest. She pressed her hands to her face, shaking her head. "I never wanted this." "You didn't want to survive either," he said, his tone sharper now. "And yet you did. Barely. And barely is enough." Alara's hands dropped. Her gaze met his, fire against gold. "What happens now?" He leaned close, his lips brushing her ear, his voice rough velvet. "Now, you live as my mate. As my queen. Every wolf in this kingdom will bow to you, not because you asked, but because you are marked. My mark. My law." Her breath hitched. "And if I refuse?" If I walk out of this palace, if I try to leave? His smile was slow, dangerous. You won't get far. Her chest rose and fell rapidly, fury and need tangling inside her. Because you'll chase me? No, his hand slid to her throat again, thumb pressing against her pulse. His golden eyes darkened, wolf stirring beneath the surface. Because you'll come back on your own. The bond will drag you by the heart. Even if you run to the ends of the earth, every step will burn until you crawl back to me. Alara trembled. She wanted to deny it, to scream that he was wrong, but deep inside, she could already feel the truth. The thought of distance made her chest ache, her wolf restless, desperate for his scent, his touch, his claim. Darius leaned back, studying her like prey already caught. This isn't a bargain anymore, Alara. It's eternity. Mine. The weight of his words crushed her pride. Eternity. The bond was permanent, irreversible. She was no longer Alara the freeborn Omega. She was Alara, the Alpha King's possession. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Then let it be the end of me." No, he growled, his hand sliding to her jaw, tilting her face up to his. His lips brushed hers, slow, deliberate. It's the end of who you were. But who you are now, his teeth grazed her lip, sharp and warning. You are forever devoured. Her tears spilled, hot against his mouth. She wanted to fight, to claw, to scream, but when his tongue pushed past her lips, her body betrayed her again, arching into him, moaning into the kiss. The bond pulsed hotter, wrapping tighter around her soul until there was no space left for resistance. When he pulled back, her breath was ragged, her voice broken. Yours. Always yours. A victorious growl rumbled in his chest, primal and satisfied. He pressed his forehead to hers, golden eyes blazing. Forever. Outside, the sun climbed higher, bathing the palace in merciless light. No storm raged. No knives gleamed. There was only silence, gold, and the weight of a bond that would never break. Alara closed her eyes, her wolf curling deep inside her. She had survived the night. But she had not won. She had been claimed by it. And in that claim, she was lost, and found, forever. Dusk bled down the castle walls like spilled wine, painting the banners in bruised purples and old gold. Torches crackled awake along the processional, their smoke coiling into the first stars. In the courtyard below, the pack gathered, warriors shoulder to shoulder, elders fur-lined and watchful, Omegas wrapped in shawls the color of winter. The murmur that rose from them sounded like a river under ice. Alara stood behind the great doors, palms flat on the ironwood, heart pacing a tight circle in her chest. The mark on her throat throbbed with a slow, steady heat, answering a pulse that was not wholly her own. Her wolf lay alert beneath her skin, no longer clawing, no longer fleeing, listening. Darius came to her side without footsteps, as if the stone itself had brought him. He wore no crown, only scars and a black mantle that hung like midnight. The torchlight made his eyes a tempered gold. You're pale, he said quietly. I'm many things, she answered. Pale is the least of them. His mouth curved, half smile, half claim. You walk out beside me, not behind. If any elder balks, I'll break their gaze for them. I can break a gaze, she said, surprising herself with the evenness in her voice. What I'll need from you is silence while I do. He looked at her a heartbeat longer than comfort allowed, then bowed his head the smallest degree, an Alpha's yes. The mark between them warmed like a coal cupped in both hands. The horn sounded, 3 notes cut like antlers against the night. A guard swung the doors wide. Noise met them like weather. Wolves stamped, spears clashed, the low, old chant of the pack's oath rolled over the stones. Darius stepped forward and the sound dipped, Alara stepped with him and the sound changed. It thinned, sharpened, turned curious, then hungry. The chant did not falter, our law, our king, our moon, but ice slid to the bright press of teeth on her throat. A few mouths opened in wordless questions that were also warnings. They mounted the dais together. The throne waited. iron antlers rising from its back like a winter forest. Beside it, a second seat had been placed, lower by two hands, forged from the same metal. Tradition, hammered into shape. Darius stopped before the smaller chair. He didn't sit. He faced the court, his voice carrying without effort. "Witness," he said, the single word scything through the murmurs. "You asked how she survived my night. I tell you this, she did not bend. She stood. She stands still." Warriors shifted. Elders watched like old knives. Somewhere in the back, a laugh died in a throat. Darius turned to Alara then, the world's noise falling away for a breath. "Do you take this chair?" Alara felt the question in her bones, she heard its shadow beneath. "Do you accept what you are?" The smaller seat waited, modest and obedient, a visible instruction. "No," she said, and the courtyard exhaled as if slapped by cold. She didn't look at Darius when she moved. She stepped past the lesser seat, up the last 2 iron steps, to the throne itself. She stopped with her fingers on the black metal, feeling the chill of it run into her skin. Then she spoke, not with a shout, but with the kind of clarity that makes crows fall silent on their branches. "I will not be less," Alara said. "Not beside him. Not before you. Not in the mouth of the moon." The courtyard didn't breathe. Somewhere, a torch hissed and went silent. Darius's laugh was low and dangerous and pleased. He did not pull her back. He didn't put a hand to her shoulder and press her down. He turned to the elders instead, slow as a blade being drawn. "Old law says the queen sits lower," an elder began, his fur collar bristling like a threatened cat. "Old law also said no Omega survives a night with me," Darius replied, without heat. "And yet." He faced Alara again. The hush between them was a thread pulled tight as a bowstring. He extended his hand, not to place, not to steer, but to offer. She took it. Together they turned and sat, 2 bodies, 1 throne, iron antlers shadowing them into the same dark crown. The pack's murmurs changed timbre. Suspicion thinned into awe, and awe stuttered into a silence that felt like waiting to be told what you are now. Alara rose a fraction and let her voice carry. "I am Alara," she said. "Omega, marked by the Alpha King. Not a trinket. Not a rumor. Not a cautionary tale you whisper to make daughters kneel. I am your queen." The word landed like a stone cleanly thrown. She looked to the line of Omega's first, thin shoulders, knotted hands, eyes that had learned to live smaller than their names. "You will not be chosen like cattle," she said. "If any mouth calls you gift or tithe, that mouth will be corrected with teeth. If any hand drags you to a floor you did not choose, that hand will not hold again. That is my law." A ripple went through the crowd, surprise cracking into something like hunger. A woman in the back, hair streaked with frost, lifted her chin and nodded once like a prayer answered late but answered. Alara turned to the warriors next, all muscle and scars and the kind of quiet that is both loyal and dangerous. "Strength is not permission. If your force is not defense, it is weakness dressed as power. I will hunt weakness." Finally, the elders. "Counsel will be heard," she said. "But law is mine to speak with the king, and mine to break if it cages wolves into lies." The oldest of them opened his mouth, a warning formed from decades. Darius's head tilted, a wolf considering whether the thing before him is food or mistake. The elder shut his mouth. The silence that followed was different. It felt like soil after snowmelt, soft, ready. Darius did not correct her. He did not soften anything she had said. He stood, and when he spoke, it was not to reclaim the room, it was to lay his name beside hers like a matched set of blades. "Her law is my law," he said. "Her teeth are my teeth. Any wolf who tests either will learn why our banners are washed in storm and ash." He turned back to her then, and there was nothing courtly in his eyes. Only possession, unashamed. The mark on her throat warmed in response, the bond uncoiled, slow and sure, reminding her that a heartbeat could be a leash if you called it one, or an oath if you didn't. Alara let the heat run its line through her spine. She did not flinch from it. On your knees, Darius said, not to her, never to her, but to the sea of wolves below. Armor knelt. Pride knelt. History knelt. The sound of it, an entire people folding to the same hinge, rose like a tide and broke against the dais. Alara stepped forward so the torchlight took her face and left the rest in shadow. She didn't raise her arms. She didn't need to. You will not kneel to fear, she said, evenly. You kneel to the vow, that I will spend my teeth on your behalf, that I will bleed without flinching. That when winter climbs the walls, I will be on them first. A boy near the front, hardly more than a pup, lowered his eyes from her mark to her boots and smiled without meaning to. A warrior 3 lines back set his jaw and nodded like a man who has decided something heavy and is relieved to have decided it. Then the horns blew again, not summons this time, but sealing. The chant rose, older words than any elder present, our law, our king, our moon, and the one who stands and does not bend. It wasn't tradition. It was new. It was now. The pack swallowed it like heat. Darius moved so close the mantle of his shadow climbed her shoulder. He didn't touch her mouth, he touched her pulse with 2 fingers, a quiet claim where the world could see. His voice dropped for her alone. Are you steady? No, she said, surprising herself with the small, fierce smile that came. I am burning. Good, he murmured. A crown should be fire. She turned to him then, not for permission, not for shelter, but because the bond tugged and she let it. And a king should be careful with what he holds. I am careful, Darius said. I hold it with both hands. He lowered his head, nothing theatrical, and set his forehead to hers in front of the world. It wasn't tenderness. It was an oath made of bone. The pack saw it, understood it, and answered with a long crack of sound that started as approval and eased, at the edges, into something like devotion. Alara straightened. Her voice, when she used it last, wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Rise. They did. Torches leaned in the night air, spilling sparks. The first moon from the east shouldered up over the treeline, pale and sure. Every wolf present looked from the banner to the throne to the bite at her throat and back again, recalculating what their world contained. Alara took her seat, their seat, without apology. Darius sat beside her, not above. She let her hands rest on iron, felt the cold settle, felt the heat beneath it. Somewhere inside, the girl who counted doors in the dark celebrated the inventory and accepted the lock. She had not won freedom. She had won something else. When the howls began, they rose in waves, rows of voices folding into one sound that climbed the ramparts, shook the crows from the pines, and stitched the night to the mountain. Darius's joined last, a thread of gold through smoke, Alara's followed, lower than she expected, steadier than she felt. The sound they made together was not pretty. It was true. And in that truth, iron and vow, moon and fire, Alara understood the shape of the life she had taken and the life that had taken her. Not a story of escape. A reign. Forever.